Hello again, I'm Doug Smith, and welcome to the 29 November Portsmouth This Week. Today we're going to be discussing the Portsmouth High School's Freshman Academy, it sounds very exciting to me, and we've got the real experts here to talk about it, Colin Grimsey and Aaron Phillips, both from Portsmouth High School. I wonder if we could start with your own individual backgrounds and where you went to school, et cetera, and then talk about what your positions are at Portsmouth High School today.
Sure. Aaron, you want to start?
Sure. Well, thanks for having us. I grew up on Aquidneck Island. This is my 18th year in education. I began my career teaching in Providence at the high school level, and then I became a school counselor. At first at the high school level, then I moved to Cranston. I've been at all three levels: elementary counselor, middle school counselor, and then I came to Portsmouth about 12 years ago. And this is my first year as the Freshman Academy counselor, which I'm very excited about, this new role.
Where'd you go to school?
My undergrad was at Plymouth State University, and then I got my master's at Rhode Island College.
Okay, great. Nice background, and with all that experience, I'm sure you're a big help to our students in the high school, so thank you for that. Colin?
I was a high school teacher for about 10 years, and moved on to consulting. I worked for a whole school reform model, brought that to schools all across the country. So I learned a lot about school turnaround and started to use that when I moved on to administration. So I worked in different places: Fall River, Providence, mostly on school turnaround kinds of issues, and eventually became a principal and drew from that experience extensively. So getting schools that were in deep trouble, out of trouble, and then schools that were doing pretty well but needed that extra bump to get into the next level. I was able to do that in Dartmouth as well. And so this is my first year in Portsmouth, and so far so good.
Where do you guys live, just out of curiosity?
Providence.
I live in Tiverton.
Tiverton. Well, you're close enough to be family, We'll have to check your passport when you come in. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Connecticut College in New London for my undergrad, and I got an online master's degree through Walden University out of Minnesota. I was working for the whole school reform company, so I needed something online, and that's been proven to be an excellent program.
Yeah,
Still draw from that.
That's what they say. Okay, well, thanks. The purpose of you guys today is to talk about this Freshman Academy, which is starting this year, has started already this year at Portsmouth High School. I wonder if you could tell us about the academy, but also how do we get it here in Portsmouth? It seems like such a progressive idea, and all of a sudden we've got it in our own high school.
Yeah. Well, you've got some very smart people in this district, and it was all before my time, so I asked around a little bit, and most of this comes down to Mr. Amaral, our current principal, and Ms. Paige Kerwin-Clare, our current associate principal. When he moved up from the middle school and she came over from Middletown, they started thinking about the freshman transition and how they could help that. Superintendent Riley and Assistant Superintendent Kenworthy were on board immediately, and so they started to investigate it a little bit, put together some committees and made some visits to places where it had already begun. Really liked what they saw. The committees really liked what they saw, and they started to think about a pilot, which they did last year, and here we are today.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. How did that go last year? I have a friend who's in the 9th grade.
Okay.
I think she's in the 9th grade. Friend of, my daughter of a friend.
Sure.
And she's my contact. I always check with her, but she didn't take it last year. So I just wondered, how did it go, and how did the students like it?
Yeah, it went well. I wasn't there for most of it, so once again, just secondhand information here, but it certainly went well enough to implement it fully this year. So there was a lot learned. My understanding is that it was just for half of the freshman class last year. And so now we're going full implementation with the entire
I got to find some
class.
new contacts at the schools.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. What is the Freshman Academy, and how does it work?
Sure. So essentially the purpose is to deal with students' transition from middle school to high school and to get them on the path to graduation. So a lot of the research that has been developed on this, and what Mr. Amaral and Ms. Clare were referencing, was drop-offs in student performance from 8th grade to 9th grade. There was a real dip because it is a very difficult transition.
Sure.
And there's a lot of different things going on, and the rigor of the curriculum increases dramatically as well. So the kids were failing, and if the next bit of research showed that when students get off track to graduation in freshman year, the risk of not graduating at all skyrockets. So freshman year has become...
So that's a formative year for these.
It really is. It really is. A lot of focus has been placed on freshman years, and the reason for the Freshman Academy.
Yeah. Now, you know, did you model our program on anybody else's, or there must have been some research behind all this too?
Yeah. There's a fair amount of research. More needs to be done. But in terms of getting these academies set up around the country, there's a fair amount of research out there that is very clear, and so you can do some check boxes as you go through, and just about all the check boxes are filled here in Portsmouth. So, and that was all done before my time. So a tremendous amount of work has been put into the formation of the academy, and here I come in trying to get the first year of implementation off the ground with a great team.
Yeah, great. Now, how does this thing work for the? Let's say I'm a freshman. I come to Portsmouth High School as a freshman. How do I see this, and how does it roll out? And you know.
Sure.
Yeah. I think honestly, from the student's perspective, they may not even be aware, which is what we want. We want a seamless transition. But what is nice is they will share a common core group of teachers. So. They will have their English, math, science, and social studies teacher will have common planning time, team time to collaborate and coordinate and communicate to build connection and discuss, you know, potential problems or, you know, this kind of thing. So having that shared group, it you know, creates that foundation. They have the one assistant, you know, principal, Mr. Grimsey, myself, the counselor. Of course, there's a student support team that is available to the whole school, but also available to them. There's special educators built within the team. So it's broken up into two teams. We're calling them red team, blue team, and again with the common core group of teachers. They also have shared elective teachers as well. But they're not that core group in which we meet together. We meet every other day for that common planning time, so we can discuss students, we can talk about ways we want to increase communication, bring in parents, meet with parents. There's content collaboration amongst the subject.
Now, are the teachers that are involved in this dedicated to this only, or do they? I think you said there may be some that teach other things too, but most of them are.
No, most of them are just
in the program.
In the program,
and they're on
yeah.
one of the other teams. Is that how it works?
Red
how many
team,
students?
blue team.
How many freshmen do we have?
We have 230.
Wow, so these are big teams.
It's a big class. So I think word is spreading a little bit, and we got more than we expected, and so that has put a little bit of pressure around the teams and how they operate. But everybody's come together to get that taken care of in the first couple of days, really. And so, two teams share kids, so we share knowledge, and just those communications during common planning time about how the kids are doing are so much more productive when you've got a group of people talking about the same kids.
Yeah, and previous to this, kids would just be thrown into the general population, I guess, as freshmen, and sort of figured out stuff on their own.
Yeah. I think from my point of view, the really nice thing as the counselor is because I have one grade, so I have all students. Yes, it's a large number of students, and in a sense, the number of students hasn't changed, but it used to be all grade level. So my time had to be, managed between 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and their needs are very different. So my focus is completely 9th grade. So, and with that common planning time, I can meet with all the teachers at that time, not just through email, which is usually, because there's so many students away, we have to connect, but I get that face-to-face time to actually discuss students, to hear about what's happening, then have that planning time to maybe bring a parent in, or bring in, if there is a modern world language teacher that also needs to be part of the conversation to support this student. It just really allows for that connection, communication, the collaboration, which is
And it also
very
seems
nice.
to personalize this down to, to
Yeah.
the individual student level, which is very, very nice.
Yep.
So how many teachers and faculty or whatever are on each team? And how does that play out? Do they meet periodically, or?
Yep, we meet every other day for 80 minutes. The core group has almost two, sometimes one more of English, math, science, and social studies, 2 special educators, myself, Mr. Grimsey. Like I said, there's also a student support team, the student assistance counselor, social worker, school psychologist. But the core group is the English, math, science, and social studies, 1 per team. And each team shares about half the kids. And
Yeah.
then within that every other time period in which we meet, we'll either meet as a whole group to discuss things as an entire academy, or we'll break down into the blue team and the red team meet, or the content teachers can meet. So science can also work with science, so that they're kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter what team you're on, blue or red. It's all seamless because everybody's more or less doing the same thing.
I would think that this would, if you actually know a teacher, if you're a student, so if you actually meet them on a social level and you kind of know them, it'd be a lot easier to go to them for help and say, I'm having problems with this, what should I do, et cetera.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. And that really speaks to one of the core functions and goals of the Freshman Academy, is this idea of connectedness. It turns out to be incredibly important, and especially in the freshman year, is, do the kids feel connected to their teachers? Do they feel connected to each other, to the school as a whole? Can they point out people in the building that they can say, if I got a problem, I can go to that person?
Yeah.
And it might sound simple, but a lot of kids don't feel that way. And without a freshman academy, kids are at greater risk not to feel connected to the school. So a lot of this is geared towards connectedness. Our ultimate goal of getting them on track to graduation, the #1 lever, is this idea of connectedness. How can we create that for kids and support it and nurture it?
Yeah. Sounds like a great project. I applaud you guys for pulling this thing together.
Oh, thank you. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's very exciting, and early results are very good, and we're happy to be here to talk about it.
Now, when the kids are in a team, they're on a team, so they know the faculty that's working with them. Do they also have classes that are outside the team, like, in substance areas, like math, science, whatever?
Not their core.
Not their core,
The core
okay.
teachers, they share, but they have what we call electives, which can be engineering, their modern world language classes, video production. We have an amazing art department, phys ed. It's really just the English, math, science, and social studies that and again, from their point of view, they would have that anyway. From our end, what is so nice is those 4 teachers, and sometimes those elective teachers too, if they have the time off, can meet, is they get the time to meet about students and share what's going on in their classroom to hopefully maybe alleviate there being a test, say, on the same, 4 tests on the
just
same
the
day.
admin part of that, yeah.
So, which benefits the students,
Sure.
because with stress level up, and if they're having 4 tests in one day, now they're up late studying, they're playing sports, so on and so forth. If, English knows what math and science and social is doing, they can spread it out, give them more time to
Yeah.
study, that kind of thing.
Now, is there any kind of a physical activity, like you mentioned sports? I assume that's on their own hook. They
Yeah.
might want to be a football player or whatever.
Sure.
Is there anything else that gets kids, doing some kind of physical activity, or is it mostly all up here? Do you guys have meetings? Do you ever have any parties or
Yeah.
You know,
But-
Not yet.
Yeah, but it's in the plans, though. One of the things that we're thinking about for just before Christmas is to do some team building, and we've got some ideas around how we can involve some kind of games for kids to get hyped up about being on the red team. So that's in the works.
Yeah. I've got an opportunity for you. I'll
All
tell
right.
you in a few minutes. But
I'm listening.
how long does this program last? The whole year? The whole freshman year?
Well, yes, the whole freshman year. So by definition, it's for 9th grade only.
Right.
That helps bridge the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, and then really from 9th grade to 10th grade. I'm their counselor this year. They will be transferred to another counselor for grades 10, 11, and 12, and they'll be with that same counselor to continue to work from our foundation for their
Now,
plan
they'll
for
still know
graduation.
their teachers from Freshman Academy, though. Can they talk
Of
to them? I
course.
mean, is that...
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
They'll always be there. And there's a few other structures within the school day. We have Pride Block, which happens every Thursday towards the end of the day.
And what is that?
That's where everybody signs up for different activities, and so they could be very simple, where they just want to go meet with a teacher about homework, or it could be something even a little bit more elaborate. For example, Ms. Phillips does a meditation Pride Block every Thursday, and there's lots of different opportunities.
I noticed that in your email address below. That's great. In fact, stuff like that would probably really help some of these students in a stressful time. You know, what you're doing is showing them their opportunities to de-stress if you just take them. It may take some effort, but, you know.
Yeah, I did it yesterday, actually, and we had the largest group ever. There was 17 students, and I actually asked them why they came, because I make cookies and tea, so, or hot chocolate,
Yeah,
so maybe it was that.
bait.
Right, exactly. And actually a couple of students said, I said, I'm just curious, why do you come? And if it's for the cookies, no problem. But really, they were honest and said, yeah, the first time I came was for the cookies, but I liked it so much, so I came back. I think they just really like the 10, 15 minutes to not have to think about any responsibility.
Sure.
The superintendent came. I think she actually enjoyed herself as well.
she did too.
didn't have to think about her to-do list either
Yeah,
for
no,
15
and she can
minutes.
focus on what she's focused on anyway, which
Yeah.
is students. That's great. So it lasts for the year. Last year, you said you had a pilot program. Was that for the whole year as well?
It's my understanding, yes, for the whole year.
You were here last year, right?
I was, yeah. Yep, it was for the whole year. And, from that implementation, a lot was learned, and we are already well beyond what they were able to do last year, because they did not have, they had some team time, definitely not like us. We didn't have the designated administrator. There wasn't one counselor. There were 4 counselors. It was only half the kids. So it showed us where we needed to improve, but it also showed, helped us to see, this would be really beneficial, and we were able to implement that, and it's working out
The
great.
students seemed to like it, feel it was helpful. I don't know, do you survey them afterwards somehow?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We haven't gotten to those kinds of surveys yet.
Yeah.
It is something that we're interested to learn. But once again, a lot of these are structures sort of underlying what goes on every day. So to a certain extent, the kids are just now becoming aware of this Freshman Academy. They're asking questions about it now.
Yeah.
And little light bulbs are popping off. It's like, oh, my friend has the same teachers I do. And they talk about us. And the light bulb comes on.
Yeah, you can't get away from that.
No, you can't. So there's things along those lines. But along the lines of connectedness also, it's one of our metrics. We're going to develop some surveys to figure out just how connected the kids feel. So it's one thing to have that as a major lever and goal, but then to find out exactly how we're doing with that over the course of the year is something that we're very, very interested in. So survey information, survey data on kids' likes and dislikes and how they think things are going, that's all being asked on or eventually will be asked on a very regular basis.
Yeah. There's no shortage of research that shows that these things help in terms of SAT scores, a bunch of things later on, in the students' careers. As I say, I Googled Freshman Academy, and there's a bunch of things, including a couple of dissertations that use specific metrics from schools that shows that this thing is helpful academically as well. So I think it's great that we're doing this program, and I applaud you guys for it. Do you guys get the parents involved? I think one of the keys, it seems to me, a non-professional in the field, but is parents. You got to get parents involved in this stuff. You can't have kids go home and their parents are totally oblivious to what's going on in school. How do you bring parents into this?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a work in progress, but I can say already this year, I've had far more parent contact than I have probably in my previous, 5 or 10 years, honestly, because the structure really fosters that. And, it's because it's a transition for them too. So they're learning. And again, this is a foundational year, so I already have many ideas for next year to increase communication, so that they have a better understanding as well. But they're able to come in during our team times in which we meet. So we've had several of those meetings. I meet with parents individually. Again, with a little more space because of the different role, I can make more phone calls than I feel I have been able to in the past. And certainly we communicate via email, but I'm going to do like my first, I think it's called a screencast podcast. To send out via, I think you do an email, not sure yet. So I'm learning about Naviance, so begin some career planning for students so that they have an understanding what they're learning in the class. And they have access to Google Classroom and that communication that helps them be involved in the students' class as well.
Yeah. I guess, do the teachers and the counselors share their contact information with all the students? I mean, do you give your telephone number and email and all that stuff?
Well, I don't give my cell phone number. They have my work email number. Yeah.
Okay, so the point is you're reachable.
Yes.
And
yeah, and they know I've introduced myself. I've gone around to all advisories along with the student support team, social worker, student assistance counselor, psychologist. So just to put a face to name in case they weren't aware of who I was, and to let them know where my office is, how to reach me. I will be meeting with students in small groups and going into their classroom more. Again, I have ideas. 1 or 2 hopefully get implemented this year, and then there'll be more to come. But
but
absolutely.
it's a rolling process.
Absolutely.
You're kind of learning as you go. So that's great. And if there's ever anything we can do here on the program to kind of support what you're doing, let us know. One of the things we would like to look at is this video class you're talking about at the high school. For example,
the video production.
Video production. If kids wanted to make a video, 10, 15-minute video, we could air it on here as part of one of our shows.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So at least it would get more public exposure, and that might help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just having this conversation and having this opportunity here with you is real big for us. It's getting the word out to make more people aware. And I will certainly talk to Mr. Vaspol, who's in charge of the video production program.
Okay.
And
I think we've met
know
him
about
once
the
a couple of
opportunity.
years ago, but it's just hard to make the connection. But
It
this is
can be.
purely an offer. No, they're going to be doing videos anyway, and they have one that they think would be appropriate to show. We could include it as part of our show.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
Get stuff out. This is really great stuff, and I just have the parents been made aware of this whole thing before you even got into it? I mean,
They have. Mr. Amaral and Ms. Claire actually went out on tour last year, just before the full implementation, and had a number of parent meetings in both towns and here in Portsmouth to make people aware. And it's certainly on the website. We did a big outreach for the freshman orientation that we did at the very beginning of the year. And parents have to be involved in order for their child to get a Chromebook. They have to sign off and come physically to the school. So I'm pretty sure they're aware.
We have an orientation night for 8th grade parents for both Little Compton and Portsmouth. he might not know it yet, but we go down to the middle school and
Okay, talk to the
we talk to the
kids that are
8th grade
coming up.
students. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, and
Yeah.
invite the parents into that process as
Yeah.
well.
You know,
So.
the other thing I was going to mention to you is that the Historical Society, Portsmouth Historical Society, we run a trivia contest for kids in the spring. We've done it 2 years in a row now, and it's basically we've had kids from the 8th grade who have actually won it, and then we've had, we get 8th graders and then a variety of high school ages, and it's just it's kind of a fun thing. It's all about Portsmouth history, so it's a trivia contest, but we're always looking for ways to get other students involved in this. It helps them learn a little bit about our community.
Sure.
We've got so many fantastic history things around here. And I think the kids have a lot of fun. We usually do it down at Melville, I can't remember the name of the place now, but they're kind enough to host us. And it's a lot of fun. I'll be contacting you guys, so maybe you could
absolutely.
publicize it at least.
I was just going to say, maybe there's a way to work with our current,
Yeah.
World geography teachers in the 9th grade.
Sure.
A lesson, I don't know, something.
Yeah, we'll see about getting that going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that's kind of in the news now, I just read about it today or yesterday, civics, showing kids how our system works, and kind of why it's important for people to go out and vote, sign up, and then go out and vote. Hopefully you're going to be at least talking about this, even as freshmen, because I think it's so great that kids can get registered when they get their driver's license. A driver's license used to be the key thing that a kid wanted.
Right.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, but I think showing kids why their vote is necessary. A lot of opportunities here, and a lot of people tried to do this during this last midterm election. But I just think it's important. It's a big chunk of something that they won't get anywhere else. Financial literacy is one, but just a civics lesson. It doesn't have to be really prolonged. Anyway,
Well, I couldn't
I'm on
agree
my
more.
hobby horse. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. No, I couldn't agree more. I was a civics teacher for a number of years, so I
That's
completely agree with everything you say.
Yeah.
The health of a democracy really rests on the shoulders of a well-educated populace,
Yeah.
and it is our responsibility to make sure our kids are ready and willing to be responsible
Absolutely.
citizens.
And the advantage kids today have is the internet.
Yeah.
You want to find out about something, go on the internet and keep going, look deep, not just the first source, but keep looking. Anyway, thanks so much for you guys coming in
Thank
today,
you.
and
welcome.
I hope you will come back next year and tell us how it goes and what you're doing next year too.
Yeah,
Look
we
forward
would
to
love
it.
to.
So in the meantime, we'll keep in touch.
Excellent. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you both for coming.
Thanks.
And thank you. We'll see you again next time on Portsmouth This Week. Just like to remind everybody that on January 1st, there'll be another Polar Dive. This one is being organized by the Portsmouth Business Association to benefit the Portsmouth Historical Society. Come on down to Island Park Beach, and you can join us or jump in, or you can just go down and watch, take pictures. But the key part is the after party at Tremblay's. So please come on down and join us and help out your local Portsmouth Historical Society. Thanks very much.